All right, welcome everyone. I am absolutely thrilled you're here. In today's explainer, we're going to put on our consultant hats and step right into the boardroom. We're going to demystify how cyber attacks actually happen in the modern enterprise, and more importantly, how we can build a layered defense blueprint to stop them cold. Look, cybersecurity is no longer just some backroom IT nuisance, right? It is a fundamental pillar of your overall business strategy. So grab a seat, focus in, and let's get right into it. So here's our game plan for this briefing. 1. The cost of weak security. 2. How brute force works. 3. Hijacking the VIP pass. 4. Building a stronger front door. And finally, 5. Smart and layered defense. Starting with Section 1, the cost of weak security, and really why this matters to your bottom line. I really want to anchor our entire discussion on this staggering number right here, $4.9 million. According to recent 2024 data, that is the average global cost of a single data breach. And, that's not just a rounding error. That includes the immediate IT response, crippling regulatory fines, lost business, and, of course, massive reputational damage. It's the kind of hit that can literally paralyze a company's operations overnight. But notice how that number jumps if you happen to be in the financial sector. Averaging $6.08 million per breach, that is a full 22% higher than the global average. The financial damage is just escalating so rapidly because the data you hold is incredibly valuable to attackers. So how are these incredibly expensive breaches actually happening? You might be picturing highly sophisticated Hollywood-style hacking techniques, right? Well, take a look at the massive segment highlighted here. An overwhelming 86% of data breaches happen simply because attackers compromised user credentials. Think about that. They aren't breaking through the windows, they're just finding the key, walking right through your front door, and logging in as a perfectly legitimate user. Which brings us to Section 2, how brute force works, or bypassing the secret handshake. To truly understand the attack, we first have to understand the defense. Think of authentication like a strict bouncer at the door of an exclusive nightclub. The bouncer's only job is to make sure you are exactly who you claim to be. Traditionally, your username and password act as a sort of secret handshake to get past this bouncer. But the big problem here is that attackers have engineered some incredibly clever ways to cheat the system and fake that exact handshake. Let's contrast two of their absolute favorite methods. A traditional brute force attack involves a hacker targeting one specific account and systematically guessing millions of potential passwords until they finally get it right. It's noisy, it's loud, and honestly, a good system is going to lock the account after a few failed attempts anyway. But password spraying? That completely flips the script. Instead of trying a million passwords on one account, the attacker tries one highly common password, something like 123456 or summer 2024, across thousands of different user accounts. This is incredibly sneaky because it often entirely avoids triggering your standard account lockout policies. They spread their attempts so thinly across your network that they just slip right past the bouncer unnoticed. And by the way, attackers aren't sitting at a keyboard typing these in manually all day. No way. They use what's called credential stuffing. This is where hackers take massive lists of stolen usernames and passwords from older, completely unrelated data breaches, and they use sophisticated bot armies to test them on your website. These bots are programmed to perfectly mimic human behavior. They randomize their IP addresses, they pause naturally between clicks, and they navigate the site like a real person would. This makes them incredibly hard for basic security filters to spot. Let's move to Section 3, hijacking the VIP pass, which covers the session threat. Okay, so once a user correctly authenticates, once they give the bouncer the correct secret handshake, the system hands them a Session ID. If we stick with our nightclub analogy, this Session ID is exactly like a temporary VIP wristband. It allows the user to freely walk around the club, hit the bar, and access VIP areas without having to stop and prove their identity to the bouncer for every single step they take. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive vulnerability: session hijacking. If an attacker can somehow manage to steal or copy your active VIP wristband, they literally don't even need your password anymore. They can simply intercept your Session ID, very often through an unsecured public Wi-Fi network at a coffee shop, or by tricking you into clicking a malicious link, and then use that stolen wristband to impersonate you. The system looks at the wristband, assumes the hacker is you, and instantly grants them full access to your sensitive data. Moving into Section 4, building a stronger front door and defending the data. Now, I want to pose a very direct question to all of you here in the boardroom today. What happens if our perimeter defenses completely fail today and our database is stolen? If a hacker breaks in right now and downloads our entire user registry, what do they actually get? We absolutely have to plan for this exact worst-case scenario. Well, this is where back-end data protection becomes your ultimate safety net, specifically through a process called hashing and salting. We never ever store passwords in plain text. Actually, let me rephrase that. We should never store them in plain text. Instead, a cryptographic algorithm converts every single password into a randomized, irreversible string of characters. We also add a salt, which is just a unique string of random data, to each password before we hash it. This essentially guarantees that even if hackers do manage to steal your database, the password data they extract is completely scrambled, unreadable, and totally useless to them. Furthermore, modern defense isn't just a static wall, it's active. Enter AI risk scoring. This is continuous anomaly detection that's always watching the room. It analyzes user behavior, device signals, and location data in real time. For example, if a user logs in from an office in New York, and then, say, 10 minutes later there's an attempt to access that exact same account from Tokyo, the AI instantly flags this as impossible travel. The system jumps into action, either stepping up security requirements or just blocking the access entirely. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Smart and Layered Defense, which is your action plan. Here are the 5 key strategies you absolutely must implement to stop brute force and credential stuffing dead in their tracks. First, enforce complex password rules and actively block commonly breached passwords. Second, implement strict rate limiting to slow down rapid-fire login attempts. Third, set account lockouts after consecutive failed tries. Fourth, and frankly, this one is non-negotiable, require multi-factor authentication, or MFA, to ensure a stolen password just isn't enough on its own. And fifth, deploy dedicated AI bot protection that can actually distinguish between a real human customer and an automated script. Now, to secure those VIP wristbands we talked about earlier, your Session IDs, here are your absolute best practices. You must rotate Session IDs immediately after a user logs in to prevent what are called fixation attacks. Next, you need to tailor session links. So a banking app should probably time out in minutes, while a media streaming service can safely last for days. Third, never embed Session IDs in your web URLs where they can be easily copied and shared. Fourth, avoid giving hackers free clues with predictable error messages during the login process. And finally, adopt a zero-trust architecture. That basically means you verify every single request, regardless of where it's coming from. All right, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to take back to your teams. If an attacker bypassed your bouncer today, would your system even notice that the VIP wristband was stolen, or would they just have free rein to access your most sensitive data? Look, it is time to audit your systems, heavily layer your defenses, and truly secure that front door. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take these insights straight to your engineering and security teams today. Have a great one.